to have a discussion on this morning.
All right, and very interesting. I'm looking forward to that, Mr. Wahome, because we've had a lot of conversations around this particular budget. But above all, as usual, there is a first-time listener. As you introduce yourself, remind us if you have a class again today being a Tuesday as well.
Thank you. My name is Wahome Ngari. I'm the founder of the Personal Finance Academy, and we build people in their businesses in the area of finances, personal finances, just getting people to understand different ways of managing their money, different ways of handling their investments. And we do that. We have structured training programs that have been fairly successful. Has helped a lot of people, and yes, we have a class today in the evening. If it's media, maybe you did your New Year resolution and you're wondering, where am I? Come, let's set goals. Let's understand how we set financial goals and how we evaluate achievement of financial goals. That's what we have this evening. We are on Zoom between 7 and 9. And for anybody looking an opportunity to come and listen in, all you do is show your interest, and you show your interest by either text or WhatsApp or a call to 0708 150 137. If you do that, somebody on the other side will come through and help you out in that.
All right.
Just before we get into the discussion of the day, I think it's always good to go back.
Yeah.
Because the last time we had a discussion, we were saying, yes, you need to use financial experts, financial advisors, but you're going to get more value if you actually know the right questions to ask. And I think we said, yeah, we seek advice, but we want the best value. And we said, simple, straight questions. Yeah, find out whether this person has the necessary qualification, whether they have the necessary competence to be able to advise you in that space. And we say there are regulators, there's a registration, people have certification, so that should not be a difficult one. And we agreed we don't just trust the doctor because they have a white coat and a stethoscope.
Yeah.
We know they must go through school of medicine and stuff, and we trust the people who train them. You also want to know whether this person has experience or they're starting. Yes, somebody might be starting, but they have a competence. So the people who have experience, maybe they've handled more clients. And the third question is, you want to know, are you the typical client they deal with? And I give an example. If you want to buy shares, you're better off dealing with a stockbroker than dealing with an investment bank, because the investment bank deals with corporate. Stockbrokers deal with individuals most of the time. So that you know you're getting addressed by somebody who understands the space where you are. The other question was, how do they earn their income? Are they on commission? Are they on fees? Is it a combination? Because there's a risk of people recommending a product because they're going to have a better gain out of it. So it's always good to know that. And you want to know what fees yourself you're going to pay. Is it just an advisory fee? Is it a product charge? Is it a hidden cost? What will you pay? Because whatever you're going to pay might be coming from your investment, might come from the return on your investment. So you need to be very clear on how that is. Then you want to know, will you get documentation for all that discussion you have? Will you have something that tells you this is what we have discussed? Because if you look at most of the scams we talked about some days back, people end up with nothing other than what they were told by word of mouth.
Yeah.
And yes, word of mouth is good, but in investments, it's not good enough. You need to have some documentation that makes it transparent, that you can actually say, this is what we agreed, this is the document we actually even signed in. And if the person says they are developing your financial plan, they should obviously ask for enough information. If they're not asking for enough information, there's a risk they're actually pushing you to a product. But if they're asking enough information, they give that. We said you need to understand how to measure progress. Yes, I've gotten into this investment. How do I tell it's working for me? So there must be possible measures of investment. How do I check? Do I get an annual statement? How do I check? Do I check my balance? And it's also important to understand what's the risk. What's the risk I expect? Nothing is risk-free, really, to say. Yeah, it might be a small component of risk, but you need to understand, is it in the potential gain? What's the loss possibility? What time frames are we looking at? And yes, you want to be able to know how will the communication go. Will I be getting a statement? Will I get a portal where I can get the information myself? Do I wait for you people to call the AGM? Or what is going to happen about that? And also ask, what if my circumstances change? I mean, if I had a job loss, how do we continue this? If my business had issues, what will happen? If I retired, what will happen? So that then we can be well taken care of. And we said if you ask those questions, you're likely to get a better outcome. But on the other side, we need to be cautious. And these are red flags. If somebody is just guaranteeing you very high returns, they are telling you about a risk-free investment, or they are pressurizing you, buy now. The people who always say itafungwa, or the stock now, take care of that. Or somebody who doesn't explain their fees or doesn't explain some parts of the aspect. Somebody who's not discussing the risks. What are the risks here? Or somebody who's using very complicated language that confuses you as a client. So that becomes important. So we said before you hand over your money, ask the questions, and advisors welcome questions, because that way you'll be able to build some trust and some understanding. And the best guy is not the one giving you the highest returns. It's the one who actually understands what you want to achieve, and they can clearly let you know what the risks are, what the costs are, and how it is going to make. So your money is, you put in quite work to get the money, and so you need to be able to get advice that's going to help you. So it's a useful way that we should be able to get good advice. And you need to ask yourself, if I did not get the advisor, if they disappeared, would I understand what I bought? Would it make sense to me? So if it's not making sense to you, then you're not sure what you bought, and that is not always a good thing. So your advisor is supposed to more so educate you so that you're well informed. And I think with that background, now we can go to the national budget.
Exactly.
Because I know we saw the nice motorcade from Treasury to Parliament.
Yeah.
I think in Pujo, and we're still asking, why was it a Pujo?
Pujo.
Pujo is French, and Macron was here.
Yeah.
Yes, and very worrying that when people discuss budget now, sometimes goons show up. We hope the goons don't show up here. Because we can't understand ourselves. This is very, very simple.
Yeah.
We understand the budget is actually the method the government determines how much money will be needed to run the country, and where will this money come from. So I think that's what budget is. And so when our Treasury Cabinet Secretary, the Honorable John Buddy, presented a huge budget, 4.82 trillion, we're still struggling to understand that a trillion is 1,000 billion.
Yes.
And so if you do some numbers, it gets very confusing. And I don't want to get into those numbers because the calculator almost says error because of the number of zeros that you use.
Yeah.
So he read it to Parliament. And so, by the way, it doesn't become law. So Parliament needs to consider it. That's why Parliament has to put together a finance bill.
Yeah.
Then they're going to an Appropriations Act, and they're going now to debate it. And when they are finally done, it becomes law. And that's when it becomes a Finance Act 2026, and then it becomes operational. The operational date is normally 1st July. That's when the government year comes to an end. So we now very clear, we have a huge budget of 4.82 trillion shillings that's going to run this country from July 2026 to June 2027. That's the period. Now, out of this money that we're going to spend, government is anticipating that they will collect 3.63 trillion from revenue collection. So they will collect that as a revenue here and there. And they are going to borrow 1.19 trillion, both internally and locally. And that's got a big impact because they want to borrow slightly over 1 trillion locally. And unfortunately, when government borrows locally, they crowd out the borrowing system, so banks lend to government and they stop lending to business. That becomes very, very worrying. But government really wants to collect. They are yet to collect 3 trillion. Now they want 3.63. And so what they've done is something called digital enforcement. And this is when you say, what does a budget mean for you? These are the things you need to understand. What does digital enforcement mean? That the state is driving revenue mobilization through a very integrated digital tax system. So that's why they're talking about e-invoicing. We've had about e-procurement. We've had about e-teams, and they are doing what we call point-of-sale system integration to expand the active taxpayer. That when you actually go and fuel your car, they want you to actually have your PIN so that now they can actually get to know who fueled the car. And in turn, now when you are filing your tax returns, maybe for the business that you do, fueling your car is an expense that's allowed for you to do your business. So if you don't actually use your PIN and they don't know it is you, when you get to the end of the year, they'll say, yes, you want the money, but we don't know what you did with it. So we treat it as a profit.
Yeah.
So it means we have to be more diligent now when we are spending, and we want to make sure that this eating system works for us. So it is important. I mean, it's a complicated thing because not everybody has the facility to give you these eatings. I mean, Mama Mboga doesn't have this system.
Exactly.
And so it is an area that's still not very easy, but it's going to affect us as we go ahead. And then, I mean, we are in that space of technology. That's where we are. Now, obviously, there were some disappointments, I must mention, that people who are earning below 30,000, they had been told they will not pay more taxes. That was not included.
Yeah.
So that's a disappointment. We don't know how that is going to be excluded. But we have economists who tell us what's the outlook, what's the place looking at. And this budget was delivered when there was a lot of global uncertainty because of the Middle East conflict, and we are happy that there looks to be a early solution. We hope it holds. We know there are still issues around Israel and Lebanon, which is tied to the Iran, the U.S.-Israel issues, because if that conflict now gets settled, the elevation of global oil prices might not go up, and that's what has fueled inflation. You know, in between April and May, inflation moved from 5.6 to 6.7. When inflation moves up, it means things are getting more expensive. There's no denying about that. And so experts are saying the new tax measures may temporarily elevate the cost of doing business, and this is going to impact consumer prices.
Yeah.
So be prepared, the cost will go up. So when you say, what does it mean for you? The cost will go up. And so it's also good to know what are your taxes going to be doing. Yeah, you're going to pay the taxes. What do you do? We have allocated the biggest share, the lion's share, to education.
Yeah.
784.5 billion. This is for TSE to pay salaries and for help to give people loans. So we have about 420 something billion for teacher management and recruitment. And there's an opportunity. If you have your bachelor's in education and you've been looking for a job, be on the lookout. This is what the budget means for you.
Yeah.
That TSE will actually be hiring, and you might be hired. I know there were people who joined in as intern at a pay of, 70,000? There's a huge chance of getting confirmed. But I must hasten to add, this is a budget. Unless the revenue is found, this may not happen. So the revenue must be found. For higher education and more so for help, I think higher education is getting 56.7 billion. This is help is getting 56.7 billion. This is for funding universities and student loans. I know we've had a situation this year when students could not get loans in time. There were delays. So we're hoping that will be there. And for anybody who does not understand the funding system, I think you need to understand the funding system. If your child gets to university, no matter what your income level is, there's actually a very nice framework of how they'll be supported, including money for the hostel and money for tuition and all those things. So children should not fail to go to TVET or to the university because of finances, because there's a program for that. I think all people need to do is make sure they get the right information. There's a whole 136 billion that goes to basic education, and a lot of it is JSS, junior secondary. Oh, our students, please don't ban the schools.
Yeah.
We have not factored in money for repairing those schools. Okay, but again, education is so important for our nation, and I think that's why we have all that. And there's actually another 58.5 billion for TVET, so technical training. Because if there's one thing that can bail us out as a country, it is technical training.
Yeah.
If you get as many people as technical skills, let's not be worried what they will do. There will be somebody who needs them somewhere. There are times you talk to people in countries like Canada, and they'll tell you blue-collar jobs are always in demand because there are not that many. You know, all our plumbers and our carpenters and all those. So if we train the people, we may not have all they need to do here, but they can actually do it elsewhere. And at any rate, would you rather export house helps or technical people? Technical people, yes, because they will actually do a better job. The people who followed the Korean model of growth.
Yeah.
They actually got a lot of technical people who went outside the country, worked in Western Europe, Germany, Sweden, and other places. By the time they came back, they were so skilled that they actually set up all these motor companies in Korea that now makes all the big cars, all the tech companies like Samsung who makes all our phones and stuff. So maybe that's a way for us to be able to go. So TVET is very, very important, and it's something that we can actually be able to do. There's a massive money from you that will go into securing this country. I think just about 463 billion because we have elections coming and we need to modernize. It's actually a very sad state that we actually have to allocate so much money because we have elections.
Yeah.
We have agreed to ourselves we cannot be civilized enough to stop making it expensive. And the more we make it expensive and complicated, the more we actually compound everything. There's a joke about, I think, a West African country where they actually use pebbles to vote. Pebbles. It's a desert country, but everywhere there are pebbles. So we have one tank here and another tank here for the candidate. And so if you want this candidate, you drop one pebble there, and we count them. There's zero cost. We may not be able to go there. But maybe if we were going into technology, maybe this could help. But again, trust will never be sorted out by technology. Yeah. This is something that has to be sorted out in the heart and the mind. So defense is getting about 250 billion so that they can modernize their equipment. Again, it is important for our nation. We never know who our enemies are. One bad day, Al-Shabaab landed in Lamu and they caused us a lot of problems. And within a few days, tourism dried out in the whole coastline. So we need to secure ourselves. The police are getting 147 billion, maybe some helicopters, again, for election security. The thing that we are saying is that where the money should be going. Again, they are the experts in there. The national intelligence is getting 64 billion so that they can be able to gather a lot of intelligence. We hope they gather intelligence for good use. That's important. And then we have the Ministry of the Interior, some 63 billion. This is for national administration and disaster response. And we need money for disaster response. If we've learned something in the Utumishi girls fire tragedy, is we need to have better disaster response. Yeah, there are many times when it always reminds me sad days. I think was in the 80s when there was a bandit attack in some village in Turkana.
Yeah.
And I think government could not get there. And by the time people got there, the hyenas had cleared the bodies.
Yeah.
That is real, real, real sad. And because we never know where the disasters are going to happen, a very good response is going to be there. We want to be healthy. I know we've got all these issues around the SHA, it works, it doesn't work, and all that. But we have allocated 175 billion for universal health coverage and 19 billion for primary health care fund. A lot of times the issues around administration. How do we do the administration? There's not money. Housing is very interesting, but we have allocated another 50 billion to the affordable housing and another 20 billion to the social housing. And as we're getting conflicting messages, I think was the alternative opposition who say they don't buy those houses. Yeah. Now we're getting conflicting messages. And yes, we're saying buyer beware, buyer beware. For our infrastructure, we have 228 billion. Again, a lot of this is for paying pending bills. So the money might be spent, but you might not see new roads. Because there's just that many people that we owe. For the young people in this country, we have about 20 billion for youth empowerment. 12.5 billion will go to NYS. I think they're trying to broaden the program. We have 4.9 that will go to the Nyota Startup Program. Sometimes controversial, but very, very necessary. Another 1.6 billion to help the youth in employment and more so building their skills. Yeah. But I like the fact that we are spending about 8.6 billion in digital superhighway. We're creating digital hubs, cyber security, and internet expansion. If there's something that we are reputed for as a nation, is our ability in technology. And actually, just so I think yesterday, where some young Kenyans have won a very prestigious global award for technology. This is one thing that can give us a huge, huge, huge leap into the future. And then we've seen this, even people from very advanced countries. I've seen somebody from, I think it was Sweden. They were amazed that with your M-Pesa, it's like you're carrying your bank account wherever you go.
Yeah.
And he was very amazed that they went with the driver to a tour guide to the park. The tour guide can buy sodas there. The tour guide can actually get a message on how the child is performing in school. And this guy was saying, me, unless I call, I don't have this information.
Yeah.
And he's saying, just like we've seen the leap in M-Pesa, this is where the future is, so that we can actually be able, because the population is well informed, well learned. This is easier for us. We can actually be able to do a lot of work. Yeah, we have interesting jokes when our president says we speak English well. We think it's a joke, but it is serious. It's not a joke, it's true.
Yeah.
And so we can actually be able to run a lot of businesses out of that from within. So we hope that money is going to help. All these digital hubs we've been told that will happen out in our rural places. I'm not sure what is so difficult about this, having hotspots in places and people can just go in and log in and do what they have to do. There's a hope to take care of the older people. So some 25 billion has gone to social protection, taking care of the older people. So without going into all the other numbers, you can actually see roughly where your money is going through. But let me say where it's going to hit your wallet, because you need to know where does it hit your wallet. Very, very quickly. 3 ones I know it's going to hit you very quickly. Now, in your phone, when you're buying a new phone and data. Now, remember now when you buy a phone and they activate the phone, this is when now the 25% excise duty is payable.
Yeah.
Having been a Kenyan all my life, I know what will happen. This will be passed to the consumer.
Yeah.
So don't expect it is going to go anywhere. So literally what this is going to say, phones will get more expensive. So take care of your phone. Don't keep replacing it every day because it's going to be expensive. This is going to hit us all the time. Okay. Now the other one that's going to hit you quickly is the landlord's tax has gone up from 7.5 to 10%.
Yeah.
If the landlord has to pay more tax, where will they get it from? From the tenant.
Yeah.
So expect your rent to go up. Be ready to negotiate with your landlord because the tax will, I mean, it was 10%, came down to 7.5. I hope you got a reprieve on your rent. If you did not, now when it goes up, in Kenya, when things go up, they go up.
Yeah.
But when some things come down, not everything comes down with it. So that's the second area we're going to get hit very, very quickly. Now, the other one, very, very important, is that KRA now will get a lot of powers to say things. They can see your money in the bank, they can see your money in M-Pesa, they can see all this. And so if you have tax arrears and you're not paying your tax arrears, now KRA can go for you, can go for your bank, can take your mobile money, can even take your car.
Yeah.
So they have more powers. This bill is giving them more powers. So essentially what this means is, please make sure that your tax position looks good. So for your KRA, make sure your PIN is updated, you have tax compliance. At any rate, the deadline for filing taxes is 30th. And you need to remember now, next year, that moves earlier to April.
Yeah.
So those are straight things that it is going to affect you. And we have agreed where the tax is going. It's not a bad thing. When we put in 57 billion for health, what does that mean? We will have more people getting trained. We will have more graduates. The only thing is, if you're in that space, please understand the competition for jobs will even get more steep.
Exactly.
The more people we graduate, the more competition happens. So that's how it affects us. We said 12.5 billion to NYS, 4.9 billion to the Nyota. There's going to be a lot of talent, which is a good thing, but that does not translate into immediate jobs. And I think this is confusing a lot of young people.
Yeah.
You know, they leave college, they're well qualified, and the job market now, the world owes you nothing. And this is where we need to have a lot of innovators. I saw a story, I don't know how true. They're saying this guy has 2 PhDs and is jobless. And I said, that guy has no PhD. Yeah, if you got into that place and you cannot create jobs,
Exactly.
there's a problem. You have papers, not PhD.
Exactly.
So we must get to a place where we must be able to be innovative. And if there's a place we can learn a lot of this innovation, for me, it's India.
Yeah.
India has a lot of cottage industries, small industries out in the rural spaces because they use technology very, very easily. You're going to get farmers have small machineries that somebody has innovated. And I see a bit of that creeping India. When I think about Kariubangi, right, industries and the type of things that they're able to do, when you look at Kamukunji and Gikomba and the things they're able to do, that's possible. So while we have that potential talent pipeline, jobs are not immediate. And so it means if you're in that system, you need to equip yourself very well. Yeah, well, if you get the digital superhighways, that 8.6 billion, we get better internet and we do more remote work. And I think that will be very, very beneficial for all of us. But of course, there are concerns. I said the amount of money we are spending, over 400 billion on security, because we have elections, should we have been focusing on health?
Yeah.
Maybe that would have helped.
Exactly.
Again, that's why there's public participation, if they ever listen to us. And that is why the power is the people. You can call your Mweshmiwa. You can organize your village and tell him to come and say, we want you to listen to us. County government has gotten a tidy sum, over 420 billion. They have had problems of delaying salaries for health workers and teachers. Oh, how many times have we seen doctors on the streets? Sometimes I am not able to wrap my mind. When I was in school, I could not imagine professors on strike.
Yeah.
I could not imagine doctors on strike. I don't remember my teachers on strike. And we need to get to this place where we need to honor professionals.
Yeah.
Keeping doctors unpaid for 5 months, how are they supposed to be living? So the ones who are managing this money at the county government level, I think we need to find a better way of managing these resources so that we have timely disbursement of the people. I know the arguments we devolve to corruption. We would have to fight this corruption. Corruption does not come from the space, it comes from us. We need to be able to do that. So those are important things. So we say, what are the practical survival tips? In this space, we must know how to survive.
Yeah.
And we're saying, if you're a phone user, and I'm yet to find somebody who's not a phone user. Now, we said stop losing your phone every now and then. Stop buying your new SIM cards and everything. And if you have a dual SIM, use it cautiously. You want to keep your phone and you want to keep it long. That's important. When you are paying your money, now understand this visibility. The tax authorities can see where you are. So if you want to get things working well, I think it is time to think about tax compliance. This is a big thing as a survival. You need to use iTax to confirm. You need to be sure you don't have tax arrears with KRA because they have the ability to freeze your account. At the same time, we're saying, let's be tax compliant. If you're allowed to have some tax rebate, take advantage of that rebate. And that's why, for me, in terms of taxes, this is a time to work with an expert. This is not the time to work alone. Look for a CPA. They are not expensive. Whether in business, whether you're an employee, whether you're running your own show, look for a tax person to be able to set up the tax system. They will advise you what to do. They will advise you that even when you go to a restaurant, you can actually ask for an invoice that's compliant. And that would be very, very helpful. Now, the others is, if you're a renter, I think it is important now that you have this discussion, sharpen your negotiation skill with your landlord so that you can actually be able to maybe not get your rent go very, very high. For your savings, it is time to expect that inflation will go up. So it is important for you to decide, how do I fight inflation for my savings and investments? And it's always a good thing. If you've been in the cooperative over time, you need to keep increasing the amount you're saving. For the chama you and your friends have, increase the amounts that you're saving. But as you do that, check where you're investing. If the return is below inflation, it is not working well for you. So you might want to go and look at that. The cost of things will go up, let's all admit. We've seen fuel prices go up. And you see how slowly they come down. And even when fuel prices come down, price of things don't come down. It's not a good example, but an example. When fuel prices went up, public transport rates went up. Fuel came down this week. It's been quiet. I've not heard people say we have had a reduction. Now, I've not had people say, kwetu tulikuwa tunalipa 100, sasa tutalipa 70. No. And so we need to be conscious of that. So we have to start cutting non-essential. This is the time now we must adopt something we call smart living. Very, very important that we adopt smart living. Smart living really says, keep your quality of life, but lower the cost of sustaining it.
Yeah.
So we are saying, look at how can I be able to do what I'm doing? How can I be able to feed as I'm feeding without having to spend much more money? And this is why we say, if you got space, you can grow some of your food, please do that. If you know how to source food on the market day, please do that. If you know how to do bulk purchases, those kinds of things will be the survival techniques that we are looking at now. It's an election year. It's important to consider that. So government is going to shift into security. So don't expect a lot of infrastructure fixes to happen. So if there are issues around your road, don't expect a lot of that. But at the same time, think about how to secure yourself too. It is very, very important. When we get, and it's unfortunately it's getting very, very ugly. We've seen goons attack people on Kenyatta Avenue last week. But we have to remember, we need to find a way of securing ourselves. So if you're a community, you might, this is the time people get themselves organized as a community to secure each other. This is when you look at how to secure yourself. So we are actually saying your phone costs will go up. There's a possibility your rent will go up. And there's a possibility there's going to be digital work somewhere happening for you. So check with KRA, make sure that you do compliance and consider smart living. You know, you can lower your cost of living without lowering your standard of living. So we're saying these are the things that we need to be able to do. I know we might have a question or two.
Just a comment in regards to what you've said about taxes. Says, this is Mercy. Good morning, Mr. Wahome. I am a small trader. I appreciate the reminder that I need to pay attention not only to taxes but also to their allocation. For example, infrastructure, agriculture, and business support, because they can affect my income indirectly. My takeaway is that the budget is not just a government document. It is something that should help us make better decisions about spending, saving, and planning for the future. Thank you for helping us connect the numbers in the budget to the realities we face earlier. Kindly enlighten us on those who are filing nil returns as well. Are they going to be affected?
Thank you. I think I really appreciate the feedback. Somebody who's actually heard what we are saying. When we say it's a government budget, we must understand we are also part of government. Remember, we ceded our authority to somebody to run the country. And the Bible reminds us very, very clearly why we have to pay taxes, because they have been put in there so that we have order. So while the money goes there, it goes in for all of us. Our responsibility is to pay what is payable. But on the other side, to look for ways and means to ensure that it does what we wanted it to do for us. So that becomes very, very important. When she says people who are filing nil, and this is a possibility, in many ways, I have registered a company and it is not operational. So you see, but as long as you have a KRA PIN, you have an obligation to file, because KRA doesn't know what you're doing. So you need to file, okay? You might actually have a business, and I think somebody said, when you have a startup, startups don't make profit on year 1 or 2. So yes, you have a business, you're running revenue, and you're running expenses, but at the end of the year, you never made profit, so you need to do filing. But how do you determine that? This is where experts come in. So you need to be able to do proper bookkeeping. Remember what we said, government is able to see the revenue that you're earning. Okay, what they are not able to see is the expenses. They're able to see the revenue. They can actually see you were paid by check, and this money came into your account. Now that's what the visibility we've talked about. They're able to see that somebody paid you via M-Pesa. Okay, but they are not able to tell where you did the money. That's why what you did with the money. That's why you need to be able to take care of. Because sometimes you know it is your money. You withdraw the money from the bank and you put it into your M-Pesa. Now, the person looking at the trade sees you got the money. They don't see it was your money.
Exactly.
Now, they see you got the money in the bank, you have more money here. That's why you need to be able to say, okay, so what did I do with the money? And this is where all these e-team system comes in. And this is where you need to sit with your professional so they can tell you for what you do. These are allowable taxes. So the taxman, before they charge you tax, they will actually say these are expenses that goes with your business, okay? And so that will be easy. I mean, you know, if somebody is an employee, for example, government doesn't care how you go to work.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's not a fair statement. That's why they make the roads and they keep it secure. But they don't take a lot of detail. That's why for you, they do one tax. It's called pay as you earn. And they say, and it's very high, by the way, if you think about it, because some people are paying 35%. And they're not only paying 35%, their contribution to SHA is very high. Their contribution to housing levy is very, very high. So they're paying a lot. But government says that's good for you. But if you're not an employee, that's why government wants you to pay an advance tax or withholding tax. So at the end of the year, they want you to balance books to say, okay, this is the money you earned, but what did you do with it? Show us what you did with it. And that's what filing of returns is all about. And this is where we need a pro, so that even if you're filing nil returns, you're certain, because KRA gets very concerned. You are in business for 20 years, 15 years, you're filing nil returns. Why would you be in business and you're not making anything? It doesn't make sense. Logically, and that's why business is closed. You open a grocery and you see you're not making money. You open a salon, you're not making money, you close it. So that's what the tax authority are asking themselves. Who is this person for 5 years? They're not making anything and they're not living. And that's why they keep saying, file, we want to see what you're doing. And this is where now the visibility of the income becomes important for them. They want to say, but you collected these hundreds of thousands. How come you're not making any profit? What's the issue? And so that's why we need to file returns and file them in time. Because if you don't file in time, there are penalties to be paid.
I know our time is up, but it would be fair to answer this one, Caroline. Mr. Wahome, for those young graduates who are considering starting a business instead of looking for employment, what will be your advice based on the budget proposals that were presented in Parliament?
With the budget or without the budget, the reality is the job market is very squeezed. There are not enough jobs to go around. So if somebody has a way of setting up, being able to find a gainful way of earning their living, I would say whatever it takes, go into that direction. Go into that direction. Even when you get a job, because sometimes the jobs are paying very little. If you have another way of supplementing as a side hustle, get into the side hustle, look for it. But when you go there, do what the role requires. If you're supposed to file taxes, file taxes. If you're supposed, whatever you're supposed to do that. And it doesn't have to be expensive. In the school where you are before you graduated, you have your peers. Do you know they actually understand these things? And they may not even charge you. They might be your buddies and they will advise you of a cup of tea. So it doesn't have to be expensive. We're not saying you go to the top tier audit firms. No. Any CPA you know will actually be able to help you. And sometimes not even your CPA friends. Your friends who work with KRA, they understand it. They can help you out with that.
Right. Mr. Wahome, our time is up. Kindly, your parting shot as you remind us the number as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we will be making progress. Now we know the tax issues that we require. But bottom line, that's why we require financial knowledge, so that we understand these things where we are. And I will always encourage our people, look for it. Look for it. Hosea 4:8, we perish because we don't have it. So we need to look for it. And so we build our financial intelligence. We can engage with money with more confidence. And that's why we say, look for literacy programs, and we are welcoming you to the Wealth Creation Masterclass. We have Season 50. Tonight, we are discussing how to develop personal financial goals, right from start to end. How do you set them up? How do you access where they're going so that you can be able to achieve? So you're very welcome tonight to join us. It's a virtual meeting. You will do it from your office. So please get your link, very easy, 0708-150-137. If you just get in touch, you will get a link and you'll be there so that you can actually join other people who are like-minded, people who are building themselves, people who want to do better with the money. whether the taxes, whatever happens to the budget and the taxes, we also have to run our kingdom within ourselves, and that's what we want to make it better. So we want to say karibu sana. We really enjoy being together, and we hope today we have learned something. Thank you for always indulging us and telling us what you want us to discuss, and I have no doubt you tell us what you want us to discuss next time. Exactly. Wishing you all the best. Have a great week.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Wahome, for the insights, and have a great week as well. My dear listener, as we conclude, get yourself a copy of Wallet Words as well, a copy, a book that has been offered by Mr. Wahome on 0708-150-137. That is it. Up next is news. I'm coming back to look at your feedback. Don't go too far.
You are listening to Radio Omini, the Catholic radio for all.
Zambia,
the Catholic radio for all.